Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm really grateful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. It would be really nice if I would be there in person, but maybe inshallah next time. So I'm going to be speaking on, I'm going to actually take you from Al-Kindi and Ghazali to the last 100 years now. So I'm going to be speaking on can Iqbal's panpsychist cosmology solve the hard problem of consciousness? Firstly, let me ask, am I audible sufficiently? Can
Yes,
you hear
yes, we
me?
can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. So the agenda would be firstly to introduce Iqbal, the philosopher, briefly, and then I'd move to the big questions in science today. What are the big conundrums that we find in a scientific discourse today? I'm going to be discussing David Chalmers' this coinage of the term the hard problem of consciousness. He's a very famous Australian philosopher of mind. And then the proposed solutions to the hard problem that exist today as of now. Then moving on to the actual discussion, which is Iqbal's panpsychist cosmology and the philosophy of Khudi that he, proposes. Iqbal is actually very famous for his philosophy of self, and with it, he sort of builds up his entire cosmological scheme, his ethical philosophy, his political philosophy. So that just with one idea, he sort of brings it out in various different ways. And then moving on would be Iqbal's conscious monadology. That's a term that I use. He hasn't used that. He hasn't even used panpsychism. He uses spiritual pluralism. I've used that term for him. Well, I've taken the liberty to do that. And his integration of psychology, biology, and physics. So in Iqbal, we're going to see a very, very extremely, in terms of contemporary scientific discourse, this is a very new approach that Iqbal takes of integrating and this interdisciplinary approach to the questions of science and philosophy, which is something that we're just seeing in this decade, especially in science, but which existed in the Islamic tradition, it existed in the Indian philosophical tradition, and many other traditional systems of thought. And then finally, the implications. What are the implications of Iqbal's panpsychist cosmology on these different domains of thought? So just to give you a brief introduction, I won't go into all of it, but consciousness is one of the biggest mysteries that face contemporary science. Why do humans possess a first-person experience? What is unique in the carbon-based neurophysical structure of the human brain that physical processes are accompanied by personal experience? This first-person experience, many a times, just to get people to actually notice what this actually means. Consciousness is not just regular awareness of your environment, of let's say the screen in front of you, the light bulb somewhere in the room. Consciousness is that persisting I-ness, that it's always you who's witnessing the screen, who's listening to the voice, who sees the light in the room, and that's you. And it's always you. And it's been like that since day one. So Iqbal, he's renowned for his philosophy of self, like earlier mystics. So he's very similar when it comes to his philosophy to the theosophy of Rumi. In many ways, he takes Rumi as his spiritual guide, but he is a panpsychist. Like Rumi, I would actually argue even Rumi was a panpsychist. A universe teeming with life and receptive to God's command, according to Iqbal, is closer to the spirit of the Quran than a dead mass occupying space in the void. And recent advances now in biology and psychology have replaced the Cartesian view of animals being no more than machines with animal consciousness. So I'm sure everyone knows what panpsychism is, but it's very interesting that recently we have been actually, with contemporary secular science, we have had developments in biology pointing towards this phenomena of consciousness being observed, conscious phenomena, sentience being observed in plants and animals. For normal, like regular people, we always do feel, especially if we have pets, we have this idea of an animal having consciousness, conscious behavior, but this to have it actually proven through scientific methods, that's something very recent. And finally, let me go to the last point. Now, Iqbal's philosophy in my presentation will be used to assess how the hard problem of consciousness, I'm going to define what that is a product of the dichotomous secular philosophy of science that divides existence into mind and matter. So we have this dualistic view that has persisted since the time of Plato till even today. And Iqbal doesn't like that. So, for example, we had the presentation by Hani on Al-Kindi. Al-Kindi is a thorough dualist, and so is Ghazali, earlier presentations on Ghazali. So Iqbal does not like this dichotomy